Everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Today, an art journal tutorial. This one has lots of layers. So this background, what you see here, I stamped with gel medium, and I'll put a link to the video where you can see me teaching that technique. So right now I am using my fine line applicator bottle to do some scribble writing or asemic writing. You can look that up. Here's the spelling of it. Basically, it's just nonsense writing, and I just want that scribble in the background. I'm not really writing words. Once that's dry, I'm coming back with this number scramble stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I want some contrast on here. And I'm putting this one first because I know that other layers that are going to go on top are going to break this up and push it back. So it's not going to be as prevalent as what you see here. Of course, that's an individual choice, and you can, if you want the black numbers to show up more, then it's going to be a more forward layer. I'm just having fun today creating. This is a foam stamp that I created and mounted on a piece of old stamp from my teaching days. And I'm stamping in the black acrylic paint and just spreading it on the page. Again, I'm just building interest in this background and just having fun. Sometimes I like this page, I don't really have a plan for where this is going. I just want to have fun with colors. Now the colors in the background are quinacridone violet and a blue-green that I mixed on there. Now I'm using magenta and this screen view stencil, one of my favorite stencils. It's a very subtle pattern that I'm adding here, but you can see it. Not everything that you're adding do you want to be forward. Now I'm getting some white acrylic paint and I'm using the same stencil with the white. Now this page is really highlighting a technique, a color technique where you can use one or two colors, two or three colors, in my case two, and just add black and white to build interest and color. And that's basically what I'm doing here. I'm kind of at a standstill, so I've got the black acrylic paint on the sponge, so I'm just edging my page now. Giving myself time to think, okay, what do I want to add now? So I grabbed this stamp, and this is a sink liner that I cut apart, and I cut this one little floret out of it and mounted it on a pill bottle. And I'm putting white acrylic paint on it with a makeup sponge. At some point, I just end up pressing it into the white paint that's spread on my glass tabletop, and I'm getting a better imprint. And as usual, I just keep going till I have so many of these. Now, when I'm stamping with the acrylic paint here, it's very imperfect, which I love. I'm also getting texture on the page. And you can see now what I talked about, pushing back that numbers jumble stencil. You're not really seeing those numbers as numbers anymore because I've put things in front of it. Loving the look here. Just everything about this background I like. But when you have a background like this that's relatively busy, there's a lot of pattern going on. How do you break it up? Well, one of the ways that you can break it up is by adding a wave or a solid color. So that's breaking up the pattern, and it's also going to give me a place to put my focal point. Now, my plan right now was to paint a round black circle there, and my plan kept evolving as I was creating. And you got to know when to let go of your initial plan and just embrace where the page is taking you. So I'm playing with the composition. Do I want the butterfly just by itself? Do I want it mounted on a black circle like my initial plan? Undecided. I decide I'm going to add a little bit of shading, and I'm using the acrylic floating acrylic technique, and that's just softening the edges and giving a little bit of shading to this. If you do a search when you're inside my channel and you put in floating acrylic or technique videos, you'll bring up those things that are in my channel. So I'm not sure now about the butterfly. I'm thinking I could use this flower stencil, but I'm putting that in place. Now I want to do some stamping to stamp my sentiment. So I'm taking white acrylic paint, spreading it on my glass panel, and stamping with my wooden blocks. Now I grab a baby wipe, and that baby wipe is there to clean the stamp as soon as I'm done, or to get rid of a mistake like you just saw me doing there. I do stamp out the sentiment first on paper to get the basic idea of how big it's going to be and spacing. Spread out more paint if it dries up. There's no way a stamp sentiment would have been able to be seen on that busy background. So getting that black wave gave me a place to put the sentiment. So now I'm looking at this butterfly and I'm thinking, I don't know that I want to paint this big black circle behind it. Could I put it here? What does it look like by itself? And then I decide, I'm going to put it by itself, but now I have so much room, so I'm stamping more on the other side. Simply blessed and blessed simply. Now the spacing isn't exactly right because of course this wasn't the original plan, but I made it work. Alternatively, I could have painted the banner, the wave black again and repositioned the butterfly and made for perfect spacing. I'm using matte fluid medium and of course I just sprayed it all over myself, but I used up every little last bit to glue that butterfly down. And I'm getting a good coat on top because I'm going to do some shading later, and that's just going to help seal the paper and turn it into a non-porous surface. You just want to make sure that your stamped letters and everything underneath this is perfectly dry. For the purpose of editing videos, I don't put my drying time. Now I grab my fine line applicator bottle and I'm just adding dots to that banner. I could have gone straight lines. I wanted dots. In my fine line applicator, it is white acrylic paint that has been watered down somewhat. It's more trial and error. Put some in, shake it up, try it, make sure that it shouldn't leak without any pressure, but you shouldn't have to press really hard to get these to work. The stencils and this fine line applicator, as well as many of the art journal supplies that I use, can be purchased at NinnysNapkins.com, and there is an affiliate link and discount code in the description box. Now I'm just going to draw a line around the border. I could have put the dots around here, and if I had done dots, I would have made them bigger than the other ones so they stood out, but I chose to just do a line because the background is fairly busy already, and I didn't think I needed to add anything more to it. When you're using the fine line applicator, be careful not to put your wrist or your hand in it. It does take some time to dry, so you either need to use a heat tool or just let it sit. I decided to fill in the letters. So I'm flooding it and moving it around with the needle point on the bottle. So there's it without it, and there's it with it. I'm thinking I prefer it without it. What do you think? Which one do you like best? Sometimes, once you make a choice, you kind of have to go down that road. But if you don't like it, you can always chalk it up to learning, and next time you'll know to do differently. I'm just adding a little bit of shading on this butterfly, very loosely with the floating acrylic technique. And this was just a free printable that I found on the web. There's lots of butterflies. Thank you so much for joining me. Leave me a comment, like my video, give me a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram at Creative Katie. There's some close-ups of the project coming up. Check out the affiliate links in the description box. And until next time, go get creative.